If it feels like Shelley Silver has been around not just for a while, but been a power in Albany, it's because he has been. Since 1994, he has been the Speaker of the New York State Assembly, and his arrest and federal corruption case has got a lot of folks questioning not only his political future, but also a future of a whole lot of his colleagues here, even all the way up to the top. Now, I'm going to start with a legal question, then we're going to go around, because I've got questions for all you guys in terms of the fallout of this. The general public has in fact, you're the one who cleared me up on this idea that I'll make a deal with the prosecutor where, okay, I'll trade this guy or I'll flip on this and you give me that. That's not how it works in New York. You have to do, and correct me if I'm wrong here, a complete allocution, it's called, where you got to admit to everything you know that's illegal, because if you don't and it comes back later, you got no protection, right, for immunity.
Yeah. What these cooperation or plea agreements provide for explicitly is that if somebody wants to cooperate, they not only have to disclose everything they know about what other people are doing, they also have to disclose everything illegal that they did. Not just what the government knows they did, but anything else they did that the government doesn't know about. And the agreements make it very clear that if the government finds out that you withheld information about your own illegal activities that the government was not aware of, the government can rip the agreement up and you don't get any benefit from the agreement. Now,
Dominic, that shiver that I hear going through certain hallways of not just Albany, but in certain New York political establishments, explain to the uninitiated how influential Shelley Silver is, not just in New York City politics, but if you want to get anywhere in Albany and the cesspool that Albany has become. I always know you tweak Richard by saying half or 80% are crooks, but let's just say there's a lot of them that have done wrong things.
Okay, Richard,
but my point is, how petrified are people that if Shelley doesn't want to go away and he feels he's got to make a deal, and I'm way getting ahead of myself, but let's say he does, how many people could be in trouble with what he knows?
A lot, and I mean a lot. It could literally change the way business is done in the assembly.
I'm clear, as Bill just explained, so everybody's clear, we're not just talking about the legal work here that has been brought under question by the U.S. Attorney. We're talking about everything that he's done, obviously including the 20 years that he's been in the Assembly in the leadership position. So this is everything that came before it. So all the folks from the Malcolm Smiths and the Pedro Espadas, Andrew's buddy, and the rest who got in trouble, even if they came before these allegations, that's on the table. If he doesn't come clean about that and they know anything later, the deal's off the table. So he's got to sing to everything.
Well, one, Mr. Silver knows every $5 scam, that's what my terminology, of where, and we've talked about this, as shell game. You set up, I'm talking about the assembly members, you set up a nonprofit organization, you steer state money to the nonprofit organization, you put your family members on the payroll of that nonprofit organization, and then thus the money comes back to you. Mr. Silver, through all of the pork spending or member items, knows everything that goes on. But I also raise another question, Richard, and just to divert just for 1 second. Think about this for a second. Let's just call Mr. Bahara Elliot Ness for argument's sake right now. It took Elliot Ness to come in. What about all the other district attorneys in New York State? You talked about his power. How is it the district attorney of Albany, who came in and walked into the courtroom and threw Alan Hevesy in jail, where was he? The district attorney of Manhattan, Cy Vance, where was Mr. Vance? Why? You talk about Silver's power. If you want to see how powerful he is, see how many Democrats are calling for him to step down today.
Andrew, and that begs my next question. It was interesting to me, there are a few Democrats who have called, including some folks in the Assembly. Every editorial page said, hey, you're the same guy who said before there was a criminal case brought against Governor Spitzer at the time, he said, time to go, Elliot, and Spitzer went away. Vito Lopez, certainly protected him for a while, but before he got his criminal trial, he publicly said, you got to go before there was a case. He's made it pretty clear he's not going to go quietly into the good night. But the question is, why has Mayor de Blasio, why has supposedly the vast majority of the Albany Assembly, including, by the way, in the state Senate, Dean Skelos, taken a pass here to throw him under the bus? Do you think pressure will be, even if from the public area, that people will leave him so quickly he's got no choice but to step away, or is this his only leverage point? He's going to hold on to this gig for as long as he can.
I don't think, I mean, I think Republicans are calling for him to resign. I don't think there's going to be a huge cry among lawmakers for him to step down, because you answered the question yourself earlier. He's one of the 3 most powerful people in Albany. If you're Bill de Blasio, you would like to get some bills through the Assembly, and if Sheldon Silver is still the Speaker of the Assembly,
you made how many phone calls yesterday to people who are friends of the program in the Assembly? Nobody would come on. They're going to have to answer questions at a certain point. At a certain point, do they really want to be seen as somebody who stands, and you know Bahara's going to leak stuff over the weekend. There's going to be more stuff coming out in the next 5 business days. I'll take money with anybody at this table that it won't. How long can they stand with him?
They can stand with him until something moves on the legal front that forces his hand. He's entitled to his day in court. We've had similar accusations against other leaders in Albany that didn't pan out, Joe Bruno being a great example of that. And you're going to hear people say, he deserves his day in court before I pass judgment. Everybody's entitled to their defense.
The old phrase that if you're going to kill the king, you better be damn well sure you kill him.
That's good.
He is. I would argue that he's probably the most powerful politician in Albany. And frankly, why is it you see folks like Bill de Blasio not calling for his resignation? Think about
and even talking about his integrity.
Right. Well, think about the power vacuum in a particular sector of the New York politics without Shelley Silver. You've got a pro-education reform governor and a Senate right now. Shelley Silver is the one thing standing between Governor Cuomo and the teachers union right now. The one thing standing between Governor Cuomo and more charter schools throughout New York State. The fact is, Shelley Silver is the pinnacle of balance against what is a centrist to right-leaning apparatus in Albany right now. So that's why you're not seeing Mayor de Blasio come out. So that is his ally. And trust me, if I'm the teachers union right now, I am scared to death about who is going to come on the heels of Shelley Silver, which is why I think folks are talking about
putting my cynical hat on right now. You're going back to the question you asked. One of the reasons why a lot of people are not willing to publicly call for him to leave is because they may also be concerned about what he can expose about them if he decides to go the other way.
I'm talking about the ones I know, Bill, or I believe, who knows anymore, that are clean, that just won't come out because they don't think other lawmakers are ready to go there yet. But I believe they think it's a matter of when, not if, that the pressure is going to get so much, people are going to have to distance themselves.
It's also budget season in Albany. There's a limited window to get the budget and get all of the funding set up for the next year. And the last thing that Democrats want is a food fight in the Assembly for control while they're trying to figure out the budget.
We've been down this road before. We have been down this road before. So the shock that people want Silver to step down, frankly, it's not realistic. Mel Miller, a speaker, was indicted and finished the negotiation process with Mario Cuomo. So we've been down this road before.
But here's the elephant that we haven't talked about. I know we're on time, but Moreland disappears. Coincidentally, according to Ms. Bahara, Shelley Silver was at least in the beginnings of being in the crosshairs at this point. How concerned politically and also beyond that is Andrew Cuomo right now that this does not stop at Shelley Silver? What do you believe his concerns are that they extend to his office?
Yeah, I'm not, I know there's a lot of talk about that. I'm not sure that, I'm not saying that this is sort of anything that should make anyone comfortable in Albany. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, the disbandment of the Moreland Commission, I think, the governor was in his right because he appointed, whether you liked what he did or not, he was within his right to disband Moreland. Whether the Moreland Commission was on the heels of Shelley Silver or had this within its grips or not, I don't know that that plays out for any problem with the governor has in terms of corruption or something along those lines.
Let me stay with me, and let me just do the media side. If we believe that the Moreland Commission uncovered at least the beginnings of a legitimate inquiry into Shelley Silver and where his outside income was coming from, and it was disbanded, and that information was never furthered along to investigative bodies, then we're going to look at the governor or his commission that he created, okay? Because he can't have it both ways. He can say, hey, this is mine, I can get rid of it whenever I want. But if it's yours and you find out information that potentially could lead to criminal wrongdoing to dredge the swamp, as he said, and then make it disappear.
How are you going to prove it?
Well, they have the notes from what they found in their investigation. He chose to not pass it along to anybody. Well, what do you think that reflects on him?
But that's not criminal intent.
No.
That's not criminal intent on the governor's part. Remember, Richard, every chair on that commission is going to say the governor didn't do this for political reasons. Where's going to be the smoking gun? You're not going to get
Also,
Cuomo out of
all of the information from the Moreland Commission was turned over to the U.S. Attorney's Office. In the complaint that they filed, they indicate that the charges that they were able to brought were based in large measure based upon the information that was uncovered by the Moreland
Bahara
Commission.
is the biggest cheerleader for the governor here.
No,
He's saying the governor made this thing go away for political purposes.
No, I agree with you. He's talking out of both sides of his mouth. But get back to one other thing. We talked about why Silver doesn't want to step down. The public perception is, on the heels of these charges, if he steps down, he effectively is admitting he's guilty.
Yeah.
So he's sort of in a position where, for the public perception, he's got to stand firm. On the other hand, look at it the other way. If he does get convicted, the fact that he didn't step down and continued to stay in office could be viewed as something that would hurt him in terms of what the potential sentence would be.
Can I throw one more question into the mix? Andrew Cuomo was the Attorney General of New York State. And
Thank you.
At the same time that Sheldon Silver was still the Assembly Speaker, do you think Cuomo had some idea of what Silver was up to, or that what Moreland might find when he sort of let that machine loose?
Can we all be honest with each other here? We all knew that Shelley Silver did really well for himself when he was working at a law firm. We all knew that Shelley Silver worked at best 1 day a week at the law firm because he was running the assembly up there. So for any of us, myself included, to say gambling in River City,
but that's not illegal. You got to prove it. For all of the grandstanding of the U.S. attorney, if they don't cop a plea deal, he's got to go in court and prove this. Let's not forget that.
Dominic, you make it sound like it's impossible to prove. He's already got the doctor who's flipped, who's going to say, I believe.
That's the only serious problem I see for Silver at this point.
I guarantee you. You don't think that the managing partners of Weitz and Luxembourg here, you don't think they're going to be the next ones that are going to be told here, we're going through all the records, we got some questions, and if you two guys don't exactly tell me the arrangement of the other partner in your firm here, I would take your good money, Dominic, that they're going to go down this path.
You might be right.
And you don't think we can find another crook in Albany?
But, we're in agreement. We can find a lot of crooks in Albany.
This is just beginning, and we want you to sound off as always. Head over to Facebook and Twitter. Sound off on today's question. Should Silver resign? I think you know the answer from these four guys. Don't hold your breath here, but make your opinion heard. When we come back, we'll switch gears to politics. Marco Rubio and the Vice President Joe Biden say they may, in fact, they might be interested in the top job. We'll talk about that and much more after this.